Toyota Fortuner has just been launched. So, which is the better bakkie-based SUV? So, the new Fortuner. The last one was very popular, but it was a bit boring. So the new one has to be pretty good if it's going to work its way into the hearts and minds of South Africans again. And I'm happy to report that it is. In fact, it's better in just about every single way that a car can be better. There's a new engine. It's a 2.8 litre, where the last one had a 3 litre. Turbocharged diesel, 4-cylinder. It's got much more power and torque, 130 kilowatts and 450 newton meters in an automatic version, or 420 newton meters if you buy a manual. This engine is very ready to go. It's like the power is immediate. It's there for you whenever you want it. It's actually an impressive engine. It's quite an improvement over the last 3 litre diesel. You're not going to miss that engine at all. I'm sure you're interested in the pricing of these two vehicles, and normally we would use the Cars.co's board of important things, but my colleagues nailed that to the walls at our new offices. And so I've been forced to improvise. This Fortuner, the 4x4 Auto 2.8, will set you back 589,400 Rand. That's 45,000 Rand less than this Ford Everest XLT, which comes in at 634,900. However, you can get into a Fortuner for as little as 429,400. This is the cheapest Everest. This is as cheap as it gets. They're very closely spec'd as well. There are subtle differences between them. For instance, the Everest has manual seats, whereas the Fortuner has electric front seats. The Everest, however, has park distance control, where the Fortuner only has a rear-facing camera. However, it does have keyless start, which is quite a nice touch. Where the Ford starts to claw back some value, though, is in the warranties. 4-year 120,000 compared to the 3-year 100,000 of the Fortuner. And as you can see, their service plans are quite similar. So any way you look at it, I think the Fortuner is better value. Into the Everest now, and immediately I'm just slightly more comfortable. Feels like there's a bit more room in here. The seats are a bit wider as well. Quite nice. The steering is also much lighter. It's just so much easier to spin around in slow situations. So for ride quality, we're doing a long stretch on tar and a shorter stretch on gravel road to test the ride comfort of both cars. And immediately I think I'm more comfortable in the Everest. It seems to just deal with the really rutted gravel a lot better than the Fortuner did. I now have a bigger 3.2 litre 5-cylinder turbo diesel under my right feet, and it feels a little lazier than the Toyotas. It's not weird though, because it is more powerful. It's got 137 kilowatts and 470 newton meters, which is much more than the 450 in the Toyota. But it just doesn't feel like the power is amazing, and the Fortuner just doesn't have that. You can have 4 high, 4 low, and the rest is up to you, basically. An important reason people buy cars like these is because they come standard with 7 seats. I'm in the 3rd row of the Everest now, and as you can see, I've got a little bit of headroom. I'm 1.7 meters tall, but this really isn't a type of space that you'd put an adult in for a long period of time, although kids should be quite comfortable. It's quite well appointed as well. I've got a drinks holder, an air vent, and my own light, but I can't adjust my backrest, so it's quite upright. To get out of here, I flick that over there, push the seat forward, it slides forward on rails. It's a bit difficult to extract myself, but there we have it. Now the way the Fortuner And the Everest approach, their third row of seats, is quite different. With the Everest, it's very simple. Flick that handle over there, the seat folds flat, and you get a flat load space, but quite a bit of the boot height is taken up by those seats. Now moving on to the Fortuner, and some people love this system and some people hate it. Pull that little tab there, and the seat flicks up. Now that's new, the old Fortuner didn't do that, but what hasn't changed is this method of attaching the seat to the side of the car. And as you can see, it takes up quite a bit of the width of your load space, but it keeps the boot height quite low. To get into the back of the Fortuner though is a bit easier, and that's because the seats tumble and fold with one pull of the lever. They get out of the way quite nicely. That's a bit easier than the Everest, that's for sure. Fold that back down, and oh well, I'm immediately more cramped than I was in the Everest. As you can see, my head is literally hitting the roof of the Fortuner, so that's a win for the Everest. While the boot areas of both cars look to be about the same size, the tape measure never lies. So after many minutes of measuring, we discovered that the Everest has a slightly wider boot opening, but the Fortuner's is much taller. With 5 seats in place, the Everest offers more width and depth, but less height. And with 7 seats in place, the Fortuner has a much wider load area. Both of these new generation bucky-based SUVs have very advanced touchscreen infotainment systems. It's standard on the Everest, and in the Fortuner you'll get it standard if you buy a 2.8 litre engine. Now let's start with the Everest. It's called Ford Sync 2 system, and as you can see, it's divided into a quadrant. Top right, information like your apps and a calendar. Bottom right is climate, which you can also control using the buttons below. Top left is your phone. It's actually connected to Ashley right now, although I imagine that means his phone. And bottom left is media. Now that's one of 3 screens in the car. 2 are actually in front of me, and I really like these because they're very customizable. On the left, I can control the entertainment or my phone, and on the right-hand side, all the information about my car, how much fuel I'm using, how far my trip's gone, and the rev counter. It also gives me a lot of warnings on that side. So it really is quite an advanced feeling you get from the Everest. Over to the Fortuner now, and at first glance it doesn't seem like the system in the Toyota is as complicated or as functional as a system in the Ford, but it does offer most of the same functionality. If I go into my menu, I can see my fuel consumption for my 5 previous trips. I've got Bluetooth telephony as well, and if I go to my audio, we find that it has a variety of sources which you can reorder. This screen is only one of 2 screens in the car. Where the Ford has 2 screens in front of the driver, this only has 1, and it is quite similar in its functionality, but I can't control my phone from right in front of me. Only buttons on the steering wheel do that. Now between the 2 systems, I think the Ford's is more advanced, but it's a bit more fiddly to use. The buttons are a bit smaller and they're a bit hard to jab when you're on the move. I like the design of the Toyota. It's much simpler, the buttons are much bigger. So I think I'm going to call this one a draw. Quite important.